And then the main event, the three-way tag team match, where every tag team or every member of the inner circle is in this match. MJF and Jericho against Santana and Ortiz against Sammy and Hager. Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager. And they even had Sammy Hager do a cameo for a pre-tape. I wonder how much that cost him. And they're supposed to wrestle with the winner. Then they're going to solve who the top tag team is, and everybody's going to get along after this. This was the most preposterous thing. Do you remember when Tully and Arn fought Flair and Wyndham? Fuck. This is just a complete joke group now. Why, by the way, why are the baby faces up to and including Billy Gunn and his son singing Judas when the heel comes out?
The whole ringside area are the hired help, and they're all the ones with such passion singing this stupid song of the heel.
Because they're getting paid to, and I understand that, and that's fine in a pandemic, but with a bunch of interchangeable job people that you don't even know who the fuck they are, that's one thing. That's fine, but you have actual recognized babyface wrestlers at ringside singing and smiling along to the entrance of the heel. And this is a three-way tag, so it's going to be even worse because those are almost impossible. And these people can't make anything make sense. It's all heels. There's nobody to cheer for. We should want them to kill each other. And the biggest thing is, why would these guys fight like this and ever coexist again? As I mentioned, if this was legitimate over on the other channel, Balor and O'Reilly would never team up because they just broke each other's jaws. These guys are hitting each other with all their big moves, and then after this match, they're just going to be friends again, and everybody get along, and no ill will, blah, blah, blah. Or Sammy will be the one to get mad at MJF because that's what they're... No! You fucking idiots! At one point, Chris Jericho tried to use a bat on one of the other guys, and Hager stopped him. MJF tried to use his ring, and Hager stopped him. After you try to use a bat on a motherfucker, is that guy going to trust you again? This is so fucking stupid. It gets heat on nobody. It gets no face over. It ties up all the heels in a nonsensical match that only an amateur fantasy booker used to booking in his basement with a pen in one hand and penis in the other. I wonder which one's thicker. And write shit down that makes no sense. This was a nonsensical mess. And the biggest botcher was Chris Jericho, the guy that's supposed to be setting an example and leading and telling the booker he doesn't know what he's doing and telling the guys how to do these things right. He's in there in the middle of this. He was trying to do everything. Everything that he's always done, everything the other guys want to do. But I mentioned this before, and this was the classic example. He's just there. There's no follow through on the shoot off. There's no extra step on the shoot off. There's no follow through with emphasis on a clothesline that's thrown, that's ducked. He stands in one place flat-footed and he goes through the motions, but he's there in the space like he's in quicksand, but he's not in it like he used to be. Either simplify the fucking matches, get on the bike and work on your cardio, or call some different shit. I saw him calling a lot of it. But at the same time, you could see on his face, he's sucking wind when he tried to do the lion salt. And I've watched it back. You could say that the guy's leg was in his way. He got off a step. And when he jumped to the ropes, he was going to try to save it anyway because he didn't jump to the ropes. He just stepped up. But when he went over backwards, if he'd landed on top of his head, he would have broken his neck. As it was, he got over enough where he landed on his forehead. As soon as the fucking cover was broken up, you can see him grab his forehead and go, fuck, that hurt. But he's going to hurt himself. I don't know whether it's conditioning. I don't know whether they're trying to go too long, go too fast. It's cold in Florida. It's hot. I don't know what the fuck's going on. But he's not there anymore. And then Jericho and MJF gave one of them the flapjack. I think it might have been Sammy. But goddamn, Sammy almost broke his arm because you not only have to know how to give that, you have to know how to take it, and you have to explain to the other guy how to take it. And everybody's, oh, Cornette's a big expert. Guess who invented the move, the flapjack, you fucking lunatics? You'd be talking to him, right? Well, you're not talking to me, I'm talking to you. And part of the reason why Jericho was a step behind when they double shot the guy off, you've got to be shoulder to shoulder and even. Because MJF followed through with the extra step or two on the shoot off. He was in front of Chris. Chris had to come up next to him, but they were still a little far apart. And when they ducked down, Sammy was going over head first too far instead of putting his hands on the shoulders together and pushing straight up to get an arch in his back, so that then when they go back, he's straight up and he was going forward and over, which is a little bit more dangerous, but also he put his left arm, I believe it was, down to try to catch himself because they put him down sideways because they were too far apart, and you can break your arm doing that. You either need to take the bump on your forearms with your fists by your side and your head turned, or go for the fucking left arm tucked in and right arm in front of the turned face like you take a post. That's the safest way to do it. Anyway, I digress. They butchered it. By that point, JR and the announcers start, well, the time limit's got to be a factor here. TV time remaining, they were going off the air. And you see Ref Aubrey giving some signals, and the announcers know that we're like a minute from going off the fucking air, and this thing's still going. Sammy gave Jericho something, and he just landed on his knees and kind of was there, and then MJF rolled Sammy up and pulled his tights 1, 2, 3, and my DVR froze literally 2 seconds later. If they'd have been 2 seconds later, I wouldn't have seen it, and they didn't have an overrun, as far as I know, queued up with TNT that night. So, because nobody can just go home. They have to do everything that's been planned, every step. I used to teach the guys in OVW. It's nothing, because this will happen. You're going long, and all of a sudden you hear, go home now. We got 40 seconds left on the air. You don't do your goddamn finish you talked over. You go to the pinning combination and the people that are involved in it. You get them in legal together as quickly as possible, and they do something, and boom. Because I don't care how well you do your finish, if it's not seen on television, you've shit the bed. And by God, by the time that I got finished drilling that into the boys' heads, I will say I'm proud of the entire OVW roster. From the last 3 or 4 years, we would come down to where, with the guys observing their cues and us being live to tape and doing no post, we were only 15 seconds either way from where we needed to be by the time that main event finish took place. Because that was the most important thing. That's what they were taught. That's why they went on to the WWE and had success until they were given shitty gimmicks that ruined their careers. Anyway, what'd you think of this 3-way clusterfuck?
I thought it sucked. I think everything with the Inner Circle for months has sucked. I think I'd like to see what Santana and Ortiz can do if they were not involved with any of these people. I think Jericho has dragged MJF down to his level. Jericho's level right now is really, really bad. I've been saying he's shot in the ring for a while.
MJF was special and had all the attention on him every time he was on television. Now he's in a group where he's the little buddy of the guy. And even if he takes the fucking group, if he steals the group away from Jericho in the end, it's petty theft at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll steal the group, and then eventually you'll get babyface Sammy versus MJF, which has potential on paper, but enough of this. Enough of all of this. Fucking Cody has no one to work with, and all these idiots are here doing this. And Jericho's shot in the ring. A lot of people got upset when I first started saying it. It was true then, it's true now. He can't hang in the ring.
Unless there was something physically wrong with him during this match, that's the worst I've ever seen him look. And so you got to change something, because it just, and hey, that's why Steve Austin's matches, he could come back and pretty much be Steve Austin one more time if he wanted to, I bet you, because he was on the ground and his shit was rooted in reality. But when you've made a career out of flipping backwards off the fucking ropes all the time, sooner or later, that shit's going to come to an end. But I will say that I was amazed that Chris was laying flat on his back on the mat in the ring at one point, and his stomach was still thicker than his chest. How the fuck do you do that? Anyway.
As I said earlier, maybe the worst single episode of AEW we've seen.
And, it's not like we're making this up, because the mirror is starting to crack. Even the faithful are starting to go, wait a minute, what happened here? A lot of this stuff is going sideways.
It's sideways booking, and I'll tell you, when AEW first started and we would see photos or images from the press briefings that Tony Khan would give, he'd be wearing a suit, he had his glasses on, his hair was slicked back. I saw some photos of him at Impact the other day.
He looks like Rick Moranis on meth.
He looks completely disheveled now. What has happened to this guy in a year?
Hey, welcome to the wrestling business, kid. That's what running a wrestling company will do for you. Imagine if you knew what you were doing and you knew how bad what you were doing is. You'd really be fucking freaked out. But they've convinced him it's good. The best thing about it is the fucking way he signs his name on the checks. That's the thing that's good, and that's why they're going to keep telling him, oh, this is great.
This is why when you're wealthy, you have a responsibility to not just give your kids money.
Daddy said bye.